Okie dokie. Good morning, everybody. It is today, let's see, February 8th, 2017. I don't even know what day it is. Wednesday, there we go. Wednesday, February 8th, 2017. And we are going to start our stuff for the day. I also realized I did not even start the launcher. I am doing great. So, hopefully, everyone has had a good couple days and is doing good today. The last stream we had was covering the stuff I plan on doing in 4.15 for the release, which is probably next week or the week after. Unfortunately, a lot of that stuff is just extremely boring, and I understand that, and I realized that about halfway through the stream where I was like, well, there's not much I can do. So the good part is I managed to get the majority of them ready for 4.15. There's a couple more I'm going to do today and tomorrow, and then start recording. So the nice part is a lot of this stuff, well, not a lot of this, none of this stuff I'm going to do on the stream. It's all just generic, boring stuff at this point, so we're not going to do that. I started messing around with multiplayer, and I think I might want to just work around with multiplayer a little more. I know I planned on stepping into it full-time next month, but multiplayer is always fun, and I was having fun with it. So, not providing, but during downtime today, basically between questions and comments and anything else I can help people with, the focus will be on improving some multiplayer stuff I was working on. But besides that, I've got, like I said, some 4.15 stuff. It's pretty cool. I'll just run through a couple of these. Maybe some people see something that's really cool. These are some stuff I think that'll be nice in the next version. You have pose snapshotting, which is pretty cool. Like we could be, our character walks around, and you can save a pose, and then you can bring that pose back and switch them to it like this. So, like for example, I could jump, snapshot the pose, and then switch back to that pose at any point. So it's useful for animation blending. So for example, if I was, let's unswitch it. Let's say I was moving around and someone shot me. I have the ability, for example, to snapshot the pose I'm in, or if I drop to the ground, for example, and then become a ragdoll, you can save the current pose and then reload it up later. So it's kind of cool. I thought it was pretty cool to give like a weird effect. Like you can jump like that, and then I can come back to it and then bring that pose back. It's pretty cool. It's really simple to use. It's one of the videos I'll cover more in depth when 4.15 drops. And good morning to everyone who's popped up. Shadow, Learning Man, Harry. I'm going to go with Kuharik because I can't pronounce your first name. Fernando, Stefan, and Ryan. Like Ryan brings up, yeah, it's good for like the matrix shots. It's really simple to use and bring in. And good morning, James. I thought that was a cool little feature. I already did sets and mats. Mass properties are kind of generic. HDR is kind of trippy. You have, this is the new tone mapper stuff that they put into the system. So for example, we have, oops, actually got to push the button. This is how materials work in 4.14 and before. So our emissive red, as you can see, the entire thing's red, and we get a nice red halo. But with the new system, because it uses industry standard film for HDR, high dynamic range and such, you actually end up with something like this. You don't really get the advantage of having a red anymore. Like for example, as you start blowing it out, it starts becoming more and more brighter or hotter. So that's pretty cool, actually. By default, that's going to be the new change in there. And like I said, is bringing up the intention for the post snapshotting is to make animations from a ragdoll state, like if you're waking up and things. Yep, it's got lots of uses. It's just super simple, which is nice. Let's see. Fonts aren't an issue. We did the blur. Blueprint nativization. This one's actually pretty cool. Oh, crud. I realized I didn't bring this down. But I actually found an actual example I'll be able to use for blueprint nativization. It helps a lot in math and looping. So, for example, spawning 1,000 cubes and then destroying them, I saved about 200 milliseconds using it in the C++ nativization compared to the Blueprint native. So that's kind of cool. Nice little optimization. So that'll be in there. Actor sequences we covered. And that's it. That was just, crap I'm working on. And before I forget, because I'm a dum-dum, give me a second to sync my source project up before I start messing with it and forget to sync it. Because my brain tends to do that a lot. So let's see. Fetch my changes. I'm doing this off screen. I'm just grabbing my latest repo. I was working on this at work the other day, last night, and forgot to sync my changes. Which is always important if you are syncing things. Always remember to keep things up to date, or you're going to be like, oh crap, stuff doesn't work now. Esed, how do you host? Seems stuff changed on Beam recently. I literally have no idea. Maybe we can figure that out. Let's see. Let's see. I'm probably going to find myself if I go here. So let's find this one. Let's see. I don't know how you host other channels. That's a good point. Well, Katata's figured it out. Oh, that's cool. I've got Beamception going on right now. Oh, there you go. Katata says there's a giant host button under the stream. So I guess if you're watching the stream, it may show host here. So I'm going to click on that one and see if it pops up. Of course, I am streaming, so I probably can't host, so that was kind of silly for me to try. Anyways, Ryan says there's a giant host button under the stream. Okay, so let's go back to what we were working on, which I literally don't... Oh yeah, learn networking. That's what I was working on. And I apparently have a... What the hell? Oh yeah, that was an example someone gave me. That was weird. Okay, so I was playing with learning networking. And just for everyone's informational purposes here who may be watching, I've done almost no networking stuff before. I've been basically going through Cedric's documentation, which is awesome, along with some help of some people in the Discord channel. And I've been trying to just learn replication and all that fun stuff. So may not be the most exciting stream today. If anyone has information or help or tips, feel free to pass them along. I just thought it would be kind of fun for stuff like this. I did a... This is what I was working on the other day. Oops, let's see if we can get this thing started up. There, let's fix some stuff here. So, let's see, we're running in 1920. Let's just do some tiny windows because why not? You know what, I bet you I could have clicked on the little button here probably. Oh no, they don't have tiny screens. Tiny screens, okay. So let's close that out. Let's go ahead and pop ourselves 2 windows like that. There we go. Okay. So I had it set up where I have what I was working on was learning the player state, the game state, and things like that, and UMG, and duplicating values across, as you can see here. So I have 2 different screens with 2 different UMG values, 2 different UMG values, 2 different widgets, and each player has their own health that's replicating across using the player state. So we kind of like have a multiplayer health bar system. Absolutely no use right now. It doesn't do anything, but it's for learning multiplayer and replication. I'm pretty sure I'm doing it wrong. I'm like 99% sure I'm doing it wrong, but it works, which is kind of funny. Yeah. So if anyone has anything they'd like to see or have help on, it looks like I'm not getting It looks like I'm not being hosted on Unreal Engine right now, so there's a lot less people than normal, which is good. I have no problem with less people. Normally when there's a lot of people, I start getting weird questions. So yeah, like normal, if anyone has any questions or comments or things they need help with or problems they're having, feel free to ask. In the meantime, I'm going to see if I can just simply figure out proper blueprint replication. So I'm basically going to rubber ducky you guys, for anyone who's listening, to see if I'm doing this right. I'm pretty sure I'm not. I learned you need to use switches a lot more than I was using. And the server should basically try to control things. And then when you're creating widgets, you definitely want to only create them under the locally controlled. Okay, this is a definite issue here. Okay, so let's walk through this. The widget is being created locally, so this is my code that works good. I don't mind if you ask weird questions, James, but hopefully it's for stuff you actually need help with. Okay, so I think my problem here is, whoops, let's grab this code. See, I've already moved it off at one point. Whoa. Oops. Oh, that's lovely. I literally just simply moved this and I can't undo it. That's not very helpful. Okay, so let's walk through our code here. So my code adding the widgets is fine. That's right here. I don't have the damage stuff set up or the replica. See? Like, for example, I don't have... Right? I don't have any of this code hooked up now, which is for my... Okay, yeah, I think all... Yeah, okay. Okay, that's what this is. Okay. So what I was trying to do here was set up a array called group players on the server. But then I found that our player state keeps track of all of our players. So technically none of this is needed apparently. Oh, am I even in the right character? Hold on a second. Am I being a dum-dum here? Which is not abnormal. Third, no, okay, I'm good. Okay, cool. Let's see. Is it properly set up? Like the server has authority for all interactions with health amounts. In theory, no. Like I said, I'm just learning this. I hacked together something to get something working. I'm 99% sure none of this stuff is working properly. I literally have replicated variables all over the place, and I don't think I should be doing that. So let's see if we can break this down into a proper setup. See, like this one right here, register for party, I don't need anymore. Yeah. Because what I ended up doing was we have the health current and the health map, max, which is replicated. I figured the health current should be rep notify, so that way I have an event. And that way when the health current is done, it basically updates the player state. See, so this is something, so people who've done networking, this is basically where my disconnect came in, and I had to start figuring things out. So if anyone has any experience with this on the channel right now, it would be definitely helpful. We have our player, and in our game itself, if I hit play, I have two players loaded up. So in this case, I have, our player A and our player B. So not a problem. I have two different players in here, not a problem. Two different characters, technically. And I have one running on the server, one running on the client, because I'm running a listen server. So we're good. Not a problem. Now, I want their health values to be accessible by anyone else. For example, this interface here is unique to the server. So only the server knows it. Well, as far as I know, only the server knows about this interface. That's on the server client. And only the client knows about his interface here. It's created inside of the player itself. Where'd it go? Oh, event graph. It's created inside of there, and it's only created on the locally controlled. So I have a locally controlled branch to split it off. Because if you don't do this, you end up with 4 widgets, is what I figured out. Because technically the client creates one for the third-person character when it spawns, and the server creates one, and then they duplicate themselves. So I'm pretty sure I got this functionality working fine. So and this works good. I actually have no issue with that. The problem is inside of our user interface. This is our health. I called this health bar, which I shouldn't have because I was just screwing around. But inside of here we have widgets, a name and a name 1, health bar 1, name 2, and health bar 2. Which I gotta fix this, but it won't friggin' let me because of stupid captions. Okay, so we have 4 things we can change. When I'm on the client, right here, I want these values for both the client, so I can get my own health, so that's not an issue. And I want the value for the other characters in the game right now. So in this case, the server character. So I need access to the other character's health values. And I haven't figured out the proper way to get access to that. And I say proper simply because I don't know if I'm doing it right. Based on the information that I saw, the player state, is where you're supposed to keep values that are, you can see this giant mess I made. The player state is where you're supposed to keep the values for the players. It's the state of the player. Score and things like that is what was it at? Let's see. Yeah, like I said, this is going to be a learning experience one in here. So, state network. Here we go. No, that doesn't freaking help. Well, yeah, so the player states are replicated to all clients, contain network game relevant information about the player, such as a player name, score, etc. And if we go into the player state itself, which is right here, we have some default variables built in. Right here, you actually have score, player name, ID, ping, is it a bot, and a spectator. So you have things built in, obviously, into the base player state class. So my assumption was things like the health and that should be in the player state, so that way other people can use it. That was my assumption. Now, if anyone knows for sure, feel free to let me know. But basically, I need a way for every player to access the health value of every other player in the game. And I'm using it generically like that because I've only got 2 players and I'm making it simple. Obviously, if I was doing this like in an MMO or something like that, I'd have it where it's only the people in your group. Maybe things are targeting. I mean, because you think about things. I'm not trying to recreate an MMO, but I figure using an MMO-like experience for learning networking would be smart because you have a lot of connectivity and interactive stuff in an MMO. My player can click on somebody, for example, and see their health and their name and anything else that's important. And if someone, let's say that was an enemy, I could see the appropriate information when I clicked on it. But if someone else on the game attacks that enemy and affects its health value, I'm basically immediately notified of it somehow because I can see that health update. And we're not necessarily talking about things like, okay, I have a health bar above my head. That's fine. You probably have the actor or character or enemy or whatever replicate it locally and show it. But I'm more talking about things like if I click on something, I have a HUD on my screen that's local to me only, and I have to be able to get that information from my target. So I always found, I'm curious on how to replicate that information properly in networking. So I'm literally just screwing around with stuff. And hello, the serpent line. So, like, for example, as we can see here, I actually have health replication working. In theory, I don't know for sure if it is working or not, but you can see if this character gets damaged, both of my characters in the game properly show that damage value. Player server at the top, ID 272, is showing the proper values on both screens. And if I was to switch over to this one, player 273, as he loses life, is replicating properly as well. So it seems like it makes sense to me. And in order to do that, I have this giant ass mess, and this is where I'm kind of slightly at odds on whether this is the proper way of doing it. I basically has our third person character, and I grab the references to the health bars that I've created. Health bar 1 and 2. So I'm saying whenever health gets changed on the local player, on your local UI, grab your health bars. So those are those things that, where they go? Those are these 2 health bars right here. So grab those 2 health bars, and we're going to set the values of those health bars to these values. And these values come from our game state in terms of the player state, in terms of the health values that I've shoved in there. If that makes sense. And I'm basically grabbing, because you have your game state and you have the player array. And our player array basically stores all of our players in the game. So I can get references to all of our players and go from there. Now, if this was a MMO, for example, and you only wanted things like the group, then my guess is somehow you need to keep track of when people go in and out of your group internally, and you need to be able to keep track of things like that. Hello, Sterling. Hopefully you're having a good morning. So if anyone has real experience here with networking, simply feel free to chat away and give some advice or heads up, because this feels hacked on because I'm grabbing it out of our player array, and it seems weird. It seems weird to me, and this may be the case the way Unreal's designed, unfortunately, from what I'm reading, that there's no way of knowing specifically specific things. I guess that's a way of saying it. For example, if I start up the game, let's go back to here. Let's start up 3 players here. And you'll notice I have 3 instances once I move this one back on the screen. So now I have 3 clients on the screen. Now I'm going to have an issue where you can see things are not replicating properly. And that's fine because the player state is in a different order. And this is where my concern comes from. If you notice, the top left one shows 274 and 275. The top middle one shows 274 and 276. And the bottom one shows 274 and 275. Those numbers are the IDs, the player IDs for each of the players. So the array, which is right here, our player array, is not the same for everybody in the game. So how do you identify things? I guess maybe by that number. Make sure we grab the specific number and make sure it's... So, okay, so let's try... You know, this is why I said I was going to rubber ducky this. By talking out loud, it helps for a lot of this stuff. And this is also a giant mess, which, again, we're testing, not an issue. Let's try getting the person whose UMG is on the screen. So in this case, this server, this client, and this client. Let's make their top bar themselves in every single case. By player ID. Yeah, that's exactly what I was just thinking. Because I should be able to know what my player ID is, right? Like, for example, if I get my player state, get player state, right? Oh, for frick's sake! Where do I get my player state from? Okay, I'm in. Okay, so let's see. So get oh, what is it? So I'm only calling this on. Okay, so how do I... Okay, so I'm in here. So if I get... let's see, what's my target here? This is me thinking out loud. Pawn. Get control pawn. And then this takes the controller. And then get... controller. There should be a... player controller. So technically, as far... This is... If I may be incorrect here, but player 0 on a player controller is always going to refer to the local player, right? So if I do this, this should give me my local player state. I should be able to get reference to it. So if I get the player ID, for example, and I'm going to do this just for debugging purposes. In theory, this should only print out the local ID for each player once. If I did that right. And of course we have stuff everywhere. Oops, let's change that text to be longer. Okay, there we go. Client 2 is 285, client 1 is 284, and server's 283. Okay, client 2, 285. Whoops, let's go back to this. 285, 285. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's how we would do it. So basically we would know what our player ID is, and we would be able to use that to make sure we're getting the proper information for ourselves. And then we could loop through the other ones, ignore ourselves, and add them to our array of widgets, probably. So let's see if we can, now that we know that information, let's see if we can make this dynamic. Let's assume that every player in the game is going to be in our group. We're going to grab that information. We're going to set ourselves up as our first person here, and then we're going to dynamically add every other person based on the number of players. So let's see if we can do that. I think we can. I bet you we can. So let's do the first part. We need to update our user interface. So the first thing we're going to do is rename this. So we're going to rename this to our party window is what we're going to do. So at least that makes better. Hi, Kazume. So now that we know this is our party window, we're going to need to create a party widget. Let's call it a party widget. No, party member widget. No, we already know it's a widget because it's UMG. So party member. I'll just call it party member. Okay. So let's get rid of this. We're going to put this in a... I want to kind of try to recreate a basic MMO type. So let's put this in a vertical box. If it stops doing that, I think I need a new mouse. Okay. So we'll put it in a vertical box, and we'll put a text at the top of the vertical box, and then we will put a progress bar under that. We'll just do something really simple like that. I think we could do that. I think that'll be work. I think we need to wrap this with a size box probably, and set our height override to something like 35. So make sure we have a height. Hello, Zachary. Afternoon. So let's go with something like this. And in case anyone's wondering, I'm basically trying to fast track learning multiplayer because I started screwing with it the other day and I thought it'd be fun. So we're trying to recreate a basic multiplayer game party member group window with a health and a nameplate, so we can learn replication and passing variables back and forth and the proper use. In theory, that's what we're working on. I literally am doing this by the seat of my pants because I have never used networking. Not multiplayer, networking. It's a difference. Okay, so we'll go with health bar, and then this one's going to be the name text. Make sure we have variables. And we're just going to leave these as is. We should probably pass this information in terms of functions, but we're going to leave that alone. Do you maybe happen to know whether Apex clothing is efficient when used in large quantities? Example, in an MMO game. I don't. I know in my experience, most MMOs that do have a clothing solution generally tend to limit it and generally tend to have it as one of the high-end options. Apex, I know, Apex is part of NVIDIA, right? But I don't think it's a NVIDIA specific. I believe they run it on the CPU. Or maybe I guess technically they could run Apex on the GPU. But it's not NVIDIA specific. Let's see, what do the documentation say? Apex destructibles and cloth. Apex types. This is a really horrible web page on Epic's website regarding Apex stuff. Okay, so they run it on both. Okay. Destructible meshes, destructible actors. I know actors aren't that hard depending on how much depth you have. They're not too much of an issue. If Apex just simply creates the destructible meshes, or the cloth, then it's probably just a physics asset at that point, I would think. And if it's just a physics asset at that point, then it's probably the same performance as other physics assets, which means it's basically going to depend on the machine, honestly. Yeah, what caused me saying, yeah, because it's, I was hoping there would be a nice, oh, so here's the example, yeah, see, so it's just going to be a skinned asset. Let's see in terms of, okay, you know what's nice? We can grab our launcher, grab our content examples. And this content example is the, oh, they have a full cloth content example. That's kind of nice. There we go. File, open level, a cloth. Here we go. Can I open that, please? Thank you. Okay, so here is our Apex cloth. And let's see in terms of usage. Whoops. Subject. So we've got, yeah, it's just a simple Scalable mesh using, let's see. Honestly, I wouldn't expect it to be that much of an issue in the engine, because it's just going to be a physics asset for the most part. It's just going to depend on what you use it for. So, for example, if you have it like this, where it's just an effect, you're probably not going to see much of a performance issue. But if you have something like, I'm going to say these ones over here, where you actually have it bending and deforming based on the body, then it's obviously going to be more of a performance issue. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and then you have stuff, but yeah, see, so like you have the because here's the cloth on our, I think they call it Owen, yeah, on Owen, and you can see it. I wouldn't expect it to be too much of an issue, Cosme, honestly. I would definitely have it as an option because it is a performance thing, but from based on what I know, it's just going to be a basic physics asset. I'm pretty sure you're going to be okay. Obviously, you don't want, you know, something like, well, Owen's not a bad example. Something we have like a coat or it's like a robe where it's form-fitting and flowing probably isn't too much of an issue. But if you have something like where it's a dress where you have a bunch of different strands on the bottom and things like that, you're going to run into a problem, obviously. Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it personally. BJ, thanks for the merchant system. It's working perfectly. Well, I'm glad what we did helped you out. That was our plan, was to help out. So I'm glad that worked. Okay, so we have our party member that we can now add into here. Like that, see? So we have our party member set up. Let's go ahead and... you know what? I'm going to leave... I'm going to go back to our party member widget. Can you open here? Yes, you can. Awesome. And I'm going to set a width for my health bar as well. Something like 300. That way I can make sure I have a fixed widget no matter what I put in there. So we're going to go with something like that for our widget. Okay, so this is our widget. So we now know that we have a party member widget. So we're going to create one dynamically when we create our user interface. And then as we add and remove party members, or people in this case in the game, we're going to go ahead and add and remove the widget and then try to sync them up properly. Pretty sure I'm going to do this horribly wrong to start with. So we're going to go from there and then go from there. And then as you can see, I've already broken half my stuff. So let's see about getting party members added to the screen. Should the party window control this stuff? Probably. Who should control the party window? The player. The server should probably notify the player that something changed in terms of their party and then update itself appropriately. So let's try that. Let's do a custom event and we'll do add party member, because that's what we're going to consider this as. So we'll construct an object from a class. We'll construct our party member object, and ourselves will be the owner of it. So this will give us a blank widget. And then we're going to grab our canvas panel here. We need a party window itself. So let's see. Let's do a vertical box. We're going to put a vertical box right here just because we can. And we're going to set that to size to content. Let's put it over 75 by 75. There we go. So we're going to lock it in place right there. This will be our party member window. We'll variable that. And then we will grab our party member window here and get it. And then we'll add a child to the vertical box. And it's going to be the child we add right here. We're not storing references yet. We'll do that in a second. But this is our basic event right there. Wrong class to spawn. Oh, it's not construct object. Oh, dang it. What is it? Oh, at create widget. That's right. It's construct object when you're using a base class like the text box. Yep. Party member. There we go. That's what I technically meant to do. No one saw me do it the other way. I swear, no one saw me do that. Yeah, Cosme, that is kind of the plan. Oh, there's a lot of I literally don't know how I plan on doing this. I just simply want to get something working, and then we'll iterate over it. We'll probably have to handle joining, leaving, promoting, degrading. I don't want this to be something fancy. I mean, fancy would be nice. Maybe I'll go to that later, but I just simply want something working. And right now, I had something working, then I broke it. Do you use a scale box after vertical box? So, are we talking about our party member window here? Or are we talking about the, the party member here, or where are we talking about in terms of the scale box? I'm not using a scale box at all for any of my stuff. I'm not even worried about properly fitting things and stuff like that. Right now, I'm worried about just simply getting something on the screen. Because once you get something on the screen, then you can spend the time making things fancy. But for now, I mean, honestly, why spend an hour making things look good when you literally have nothing to look at? We want stuff working. That's our goal right now. Okay, so yeah. And Cosme probably jumped ahead to the appropriate spot we should go to. See, but I don't know if I want to refresh the entire Okay, let's make this really simple. You know what? We have our party window added to our screen. What we're going to do is make a custom event, and we're going to call it add party member. We're just going to go with add party member. And all this is going to do is talk to our, oops, we call it health bar reference. Let's rename this to party window reference. There we go. We're going to grab our party window reference, and we're going to tell it to add party member. I just want to get something on the screen at this point. And let's add party member. Now, I'm pretty sure stuff isn't going to work out right yet because I still have things broken, like all over the place. But that's perfectly fine. So let's figure out where we are broken here. So this is our update health display. Let's disconnect that for now. What else do we have broken? Let's disconnect on rep health because we broke that one. Okay, so cool. All I've got now is every single one has their own unique health bar, which is good. That's what we wanted. We just simply wanted that to work. So in theory, for example, if we had something here like custom event, and we did this like update party member window, we could do something like for each, we will let's see, we are ourselves. We should be able to get our player state from ourselves, right? Nope. It needs to be the controller, doesn't it? No, pawn, right? Yeah. Doesn't myself work as a player state? I assumed it did. Game state. Oh, wait. Player state. Player state is inside the player array. Oh my gosh, my brain stopped functioning. See what happens? Okay. Player state, game state, a friggin' arrays. I friggin' hate these. There's too many states in here. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. This right here should return an array of all of our players. This is technically what we want to do right here. And each of these should be, I should have a player state is what each one of these should be. If I write variables, player state, okay, so player ID. So I should be able to, in theory, I'm in the friggin' party. I'm in the friggin' one. I'm in the wrong one. No. This is update party member window. Yeah, okay. Yep. I can do this. I have the brains, in theory. Let's see if we can actually put this to use. Let's just see if we can simply create, yeah, add child, and then this is get name text, set. This may look weird, but this should do what I'm kind of hoping to get done right here. Like that. Okay. So if this works properly and if I called update party member window, it should create our window with the name of everybody in it. It won't be the proper order, but it should work, which is what I want. So let's find our player. And instead of adding a party member, we whoops, not add party member. Yeah, that's right. These are individual things in here. So let's see, custom event, update party member window. Grab our party window reference, tell it to update. I know it seems silly that we're not calling things directly, but by dropping these into their own custom events right now, we have the ability to make these bigger, which is the goal. Right now, we're just basically testing it. So instead of adding, we're going to update this time and see if it calls that function. So let's see if it does. Okay, so we got something to work. We, in theory, created ourselves, and then we created ourselves and someone else. So our issue here is, and this is something I ran into the other day, and I don't really know why it does this. Where's our party window? This array right here doesn't seem to be populated properly on creation because people are still being spawned into the world. Which makes sense, it's just one of those annoying things. So in theory, if we delay this by about 2 seconds to make sure all of our people can come in, it should work. There we go. So you can see, and you actually saw the delay in there, you can see our server putting the screen up and then the other two a little bit later. And even then you can see our middle top one still didn't have enough time for everyone to join in, which makes no sense at all. But as you can see here, we do have it dynamically creating our player window now at this point. We're adding in everybody who's in theory part of our player state. The nice thing is all that's doing is grabbing this information from our player array. We can change this over to something local. Let's see. Could you review quickly how do you replicate their movement? I don't do any of that stuff. I don't spawn any of them. I don't do any of that stuff. It's all automatic. By default, the base third-person character is set to replicate. Where's this? I want to say it's this one. Whoops, that's an E. No, where's it's in here somewhere. Here we go. On the third-person character, by default, it's set to replicates and it's set to replicate movement. Those are the default settings that allow everything to literally happen in the game. And all I'm doing is hitting play with a default set number of players. I have literally nothing set up for the server at all. I've done nothing extra. I'm just simply using the built-in Unreal play and editor functions to spawn in 3 players. And I'm using the default third-person character, which defaults to replicate movement and itself, any variables inside of itself as well. It's all set up by default. And then all I have in here is a player start. And so every time a player starts, it simply starts at the player start. All done automatically. But we've got a good start at this point. We have the ability to update our window as needed. So yeah. So if we were to, let's see what happens if we, let's see, let me put in a U key. Let me try something here. This is, again, today is all about testing stuff. So we're going to hook up U to update party member window. And our update party member window, we actually need to fix something. Our vertical box here, because we're going to run into the issue if I didn't do this, we need to clear it out. So we're just going to go ahead and set our update to literally reset our user interface every single time. So let's see if that works. Okay, good. Because what I want to do is in theory, if we have our 3 people here, and I killed one of... Oop, damn. Let's try standalone game. Let's try this one. Adapting a game for multiplayer doesn't seem to be too hard. That's actually what I'm trying to work on right now. Learning to... learning the requirements to make something work properly. Like, for example, getting that health to replicate and getting things in the player state is kind of important. That's what I'm working on now. I did run into a really weird issue. I should rephrase it. Not really weird, but I wonder if I still have it on here. I was having a lot of fun with it the other day. Let's see if it's still in here. I was goofing around with something for somebody. And of course, I bet you I don't have it anymore. Let's see. I'll be darned if I can remember what I even would have called it. Let's see. Construction, customizable, first to third, good first. Rotational. Oh, poop. Well, I was messing around with the animation system is what I was trying to learn how to do. And I was trying to learn how to adjust bones in the animation system, and I made it where your... if we go back into our example here, if we look at our... I don't want that one, I'll select it before. If you look at your character, he has a head. You have the ability to... There's a bone in the head. So I made it where when you're in first-person view and you look down, the head of the character looked down. And then when you looked up, the head of the character looked up. And I got it working. I finally figured that one out because I've never used bone animation before. And it worked very well. So it was really nice where simply as your character looked around and you looked up or down, the head would adjust itself up or down. Which is a cool effect in multiplayer. You could actually see where your opponent or whatever is looking. The problem I ran into is, by default, it didn't work in multiplayer. That bone information, that animation information, doesn't replicate automatically. The client, everyone else basically, besides you, doesn't know you're actually rotating your head. And that's something I had no idea how to do. That's why I'm trying to get this multiplayer stuff learned. I thought that would be pretty cool. But without the ability of understanding how replication works properly, which I don't still, I'm basically stuck. So I figure making useful examples like this is smart. And in theory, it should work well. And that's what I'm working on. The problem I just ran into is, how do you kill a client? Like, we know how to quit the game, but do we have any way of killing our client when you're running in here? Because we can see, here's our... I wonder if... Let's see if that will do it. Whoa, that was really cool. Oh, that was really cool. I've never seen that option before. Editor multiplayer mode. Okay, let's see what this option does. I am super curious now. Oh. Well, that completely eliminated the ability to have that working. Let's see, play as, listen. Okay, there we go. Let's see if that does something. Nope, I lost the ability to have multiple people. That's kind of handy. Or not really at all, huh? Nope, not really at all. Right. Okay, let's put that option back then. So that completely destroyed my ability to have multiple players. There may be an option for replication with the anim blueprint. I just don't know where it's at. Let's go DZ. Make a key event to leave the session. Probably. But right now, since we're playing in editor, technically, I don't think we have sessions running. We're kind of faking multiplayer now. That's our issue. We still have that also sync issue. But if you notice, if I quit any one of these individually, the entire thing stops. So I guess the only way to test this would be if I actually had the proper listen server set up. which I'm not going to worry about for now. I was just going to test joining and leaving. That's kind of a secondary effect of networking. We're just going to try to get a primary effect of data replication working right now. So let's see if we can go back to that. Okay, so in here, when we're creating our party members, so let's not call this update. This is more of, I guess technically this would be updating the whole window. Damn, there's so many different things I'd have to do here. Fake it by removing a player from the array, delete the character from the array, and refresh. Does that work? Oh, I see what you mean by faking it. Oh, I don't know. Can you manipulate that array at runtime? I guess we're going to find out. That's a pretty darn good idea if it is, if we can. Let's see. So let's grab our party window, and we're going to grab that array here. And we're going to slap it into here. Oops, stop it. And then we'll remove item index, and we'll remove our last index. So last index, right? In theory that should work. Yeah, okay. So what we're thinking is something like this then. Oh, let's see if that works. I have no idea what's going to happen, but let's see what happens. Okay, so we can already see the primary issue there is it only fires on our server. So that's definitely an issue with the way it's set up. Now this is in our character, but the actual event itself is only firing on our server. Which, oh, yeah, which technically makes sense in the fact that I'm firing it on the server client. If I was in here and fired it, it's only, yeah, so it's a local event, yeah, so replicating the event would be the next one. That is interesting to note, though, that we can do that. I wonder if, because obviously we can see here that we still have our characters, even though I've deleted them from the array. I like that idea. That was a great suggestion for faking it by removing the player. So that was a good idea. So technically, we'll assume this is like a server event that we're going to fake right here. So we'll do something like switch has authority, make sure only the server calls this event, even though we're calling on multiple clients possibly. And then we will event. Oops, I actually need a custom event. Keep in mind, I'm still working with multiplayer here, so this is me figuring this stuff out here. We'll go ahead and we should be able to do this then, right? And let's just simply copy this over here so it's not connecting to other places. So in theory, if this is set up for replicate on all, and let's actually rename this to something more appropriate than custom 0. What do we want to call this? We'll just debug remove player. We'll do that. So if my networking knowledge is proper, when we hit U, only the server should fire this event, so we don't end up getting everything firing it. It should call debug remove player. This event here, this whole chain should fire off on the server and the clients. And this should be the local copy of the game state, I would assume. And the local player array, because we're firing on ourselves. So let's see what happens. Networking is so weird. Okay, so that did not function as expected. We can no longer remove things from clients, so that's working properly. We just don't have this firing off properly. Let's see. Access none, trying to read party window reference from function ubergraph. Let's put a log back here. And that's because this is invalid in the context that we're trying to run this at. The U should be connected to the remote. You mean directly to here? Ignoring the switch has authority? Is that... yeah, that kind of doesn't... Now I'm just a little bit... Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely following everyone's help and suggestions and comments. You're saying if the current node is a server, so this server should call this right here. Call the event on the server, which I'm doing, but this event is a multicast. Shouldn't this event then run on everything? Replicates this event from the server to everyone else. So this event should be called on everybody's machine, shouldn't it? And this is, of course, where everyone's brains stop working when they're trying to understand networking. The simple concepts of replication and stuff like that. Yeah, so that is getting called twice. So this is replicating to the other machines. This is actually replicating to each other client. But the player party window reference is invalid. Which makes no sense because technically we have a party window reference. But apparently this is passing along the party window reference on the server, not the client. Let's hit a bunch of F9s and see what happens. That's what F9 is good for. Okay, so hit U, go back in here. Party window reference. And we are in... Which one are we on? Is this our server? Or are we on... Oh, no, the server's calling it on all the... Okay. I think that's what it is. The server, when you do the multicast... No, the multicast is supposed to cast to the clients, right? Yeah. So, I mean, am I wrong in am I honestly wrong in understanding how this is supposed to work? This event should call everything here. Well, if I called this event, all of this code should execute locally on the client, right? I would assume. Let's find out. Cast from the server to all clients, which it seems like it does. It seems like it's doing that because I get the 2 errors when I run this. So, for example, when I run this, and, well, I was not doing this right here. Let's drop our debug for a second, hit resume. We end up with our 2 error messages here. I would assume 1 for each client. Hello, yeah, so each one calls hello. It's just when this is getting called, my party window reference is invalid. Even though technically this one right here, which only... Oh, okay, hold on a second. Let's see something. I don't think this is gonna do what I want, but I'm gonna try it anyways. Because I can. Yeah, see, so that prevents the other clients from firing off the events. So when this is getting called, it's not actually executing on the clients. It's not... Oh, okay. I see what it is. Okay, nope, I understand. This is funky. No, okay, so this is the case of trying to understand multiplayer and getting super friggin' confused on how it works. So I'm 99% sure I know how this is, what the problem is, and let's see if we can explain this. So on my server right here in the top left, I have 3 characters. I have a character 1, a character 2, and a character 3. So third person character 1, and third person character 2. 3 instances in here. On the server, I own this one, and my interface is attached to this one. So it's called third-person character in my case. But in the client over here, as you can see, I can move this character. He's called God knows what. It doesn't matter. This character over here is the server. The UI on this screen is attached to this character. It's not attached to this character. So when this character over here, the server, tells everyone else to run this code on this character, because keep in mind I'm running this UI on the character itself, it's telling on this client, this character needs to run that code. And on this client, it's telling it, this character needs to run the code, not this character who owns the UI. So that makes complete sense. It's super friggin' confusing, but it makes complete sense. So the problem here is my user interface, any code I run on the UI, if I have the player run it, it's going to run on the player, which technically we don't want. We want these events to be run locally on something. Anyways, that's interesting to note. And that makes complete sense. Because, for example, and let me see if I can maybe clarify this for anyone who might be a little confused. Let's separate my little duders here. I should probably color code them too. So, if I was in here and I took damage and my material changed, I would say, oh no, my material changed. I took damage, I need to change my color to red. And this little dude's going to change to red. Oh, everyone else needs to know my red is changed as well. So when you run that same code, you have to run it against this guy over here and this guy over here. Those versions of this character. And of course, those versions don't have the UI. So let's say Kazume, run it via controller, get the owned pawn, and use it from there. Yeah, controllers are what people are bringing up. Controller may be a good point for this. I am very curious. Where do people recommend the UI go on multiplayer? Let's see if we can have that conversation. UE4 multiplayer UI where? I gotta spell. Okay, so let's see. DZ probably has the best answer on that one. Why not in the HUD? Which is actually funny because I've been working with the HUD class this last 2 weeks. The HUD is only owned by the player and is probably the smartest place to put this. I like that idea. Nope, you know what? I like it. Let's see if we can make this work in the HUD. I like that idea. I think that was the correct answer to our conundrum here. So let's make a new HUD class, and we'll call this one Network HUD. We'll go ahead and slap that into our game mode, because that is probably the smartest place to put this. And just basically have the HUD functionality, creation, destruction, things like that, all inside of our HUD class. So let's do that. Let's make sure we have no events set up. And our third-person player can simply talk to the HUD and tell it to... Actually, okay, let's see if we can port all the functionality in. So at this point, we technically don't even need the locally controlled anymore. We just need to do this stuff right here. Create it, set it, and add it. So let's move that into our HUD here. Let's do that on the begin play. And we'll go ahead and do that. Our reference is invalid, so let's go ahead and create our reference. So we're good there. And in theory, we should be able to create our empty widget inside the HUD now. I'm sure stuff's going to break, but I don't really care. I just want to see if stuff will break. Okay, cool. So now we have a widget. Nothing's in our widget, but we have our widget, in theory. Obviously, we need to be able to see it, so let's work on seeing it. So let's go back to our character, and our character basically calls update party member window. So we're going to do that after 2 seconds. This is probably, so here's kind of a question here. Functionality for updating. Like, for example, let's say we were in a game where there was a group and someone joined your group. Should it should probably let the player know a player joined their group, and the player should then keep track of the people in their group, is what I'm thinking. That's what I'm gonna go with. That's what, you know what? Let's not worry about what should happen. Let's worry about what we're going to do. That's what I'm gonna do. Also, I just noticed that. Does anyone else notice this before? Hold on a second. Oh, look at that. Okay. So I just noticed that this is showing it's today at 3 a.m. when technically it's 11 a.m. my time for these logs. So, and I'm in -8. So that's like 8 hours behind me. I wonder if this is a bug or if there's a way to set what your actual local time is. Has anyone else noticed this before? Also, I never noticed the fact that they had multiple logs in here, which I thought was kind of cool. Oh, I wonder if this is a new 4.15 feature. I wonder if, because I'm using 4.15 to test. I am using 4.15, right? Yeah, okay. You know what? I'm going to go off on a small tangent here and see if that is something new, because I've never noticed that before. Okay, so let's just file new level, pop it out like that. Let's hit play. I need an actual log on something, so let's find. Actually, let's load up something. I don't know, high score, because apparently, why not? Oh, I guess I need to actually load up something to view. Would be helpful. Do I have a friggin' blueprint? Oh my gosh, there we go. So. And what log? That was our message log, right? Okay, cool. Has anyone else ever noticed that before? That your message logs have history? That is really freaking cool. I literally never noticed that before. But unfortunately, you also notice it is the wrong time. Okay. Well, tangent diverted. I've never seen that before. Now I know that there's a possible bug, and I will look into that. Let's see if we can go back to what I was working on. Okay, so functionality for joining parties and leaving parties will be inside of our player. Our player will simply talk to the HUD and tell the HUD what it needs to do, and then the HUD will take care of it from there. So in this case, these things we don't do. So what we're going to do, let's change this functionality. So we're going to get our HUD. Crap, where's it at? Right, player controller, yeah, of course. Which is good, actually. So, right click. Can I right click? I can't right click. I lost my right click. There we go. Which this is actually good, because player controller always returns the local player controller. Which means we're always going to grab our HUD, and then we're going to cast it. So I'm going to actually save this right here. We're going to cut this out. We are going to put this in our begin play for ease of use, and we are going to store this as a reference. So we just have a one-click reference to this. Like this. There we go. I'll just call it a HUD reference. So every player should have a reference to their local HUD. We probably don't need this on every character, but it really doesn't matter. We could technically, you know, actually doing it like this, we could technically talk to any actor directly and tell it to do something. And because it's going to talk to its local HUD only, yeah, that's smart. Okay, you know, I like that. I'm going to go with I like that idea. So here's our HUD reference. So let's go to our HUD here. And all we're going to do is grab the code that we had here, which was add a party member. Slap that into our HUD here. So custom event, add party member to HUD. Again, these are all like debug functions. this is like obviously doesn't do anything proper because we're not passing along which party member it is, which player ID, and stuff like that. We just want functionality at this point. So we're going to go with that. So add a party members inside of our HUD, and this should talk to our actual local HUD. Go back to our third person character, and then we'll do the same thing. Add party member to HUD. I gotta love function chains. Okay. So I think now if we do this, and we do add party member, we should have our basic functionality restored. We should be able to have, after 2 seconds, one HUD element for everything. And apparently I called update somewhere. That was kind of cool. Huh. Okay. Oh, interesting. Hold on a second. Huh. Okay. I'm pretty sure we are adding multiple items to our HUD on accident, which is not what we should be doing. I have a feeling that this code should not be, let's see, locally controlled. Yeah. I think it's that same issue I had where I thought this was a smart idea and apparently it's not a smart idea. Let's find out what happens here. Okay, so that's the desired result I wanted. So basically what we were doing was every single time the begin play fired off, so technically the begin play fired off 3 times per client, and that includes our server. And every time it fired off, it added a party member to the HUD. So this I actually want on every one. But we need to make sure when we are doing any sort of stuff to it. Yeah, DZ, that's the issue I ran into. And that's actually an issue a lot of people have. Well, that is an actual issue that a lot of people end up having, I've noticed, with UMG. And it took me about 15 minutes to figure it out. Because if you are creating your HUD itself, for example, so let's say we did this code right here. All it's doing is creating your widget and adding it to your viewport. If you do that multiple times, you can't actually tell for the most part because they're stacked on top of each other. So once you start manipulating variables and you're super confused on why they're not changing, it's probably because you ended up having multiple HUDs per interface, per viewport. And greetings, Mohammed. Hopefully you are having a good day today. So yeah, pretty much the takeaway of this is multiplayer is a giant pain in the ass because you have to think about everything you're doing. You can't literally just throw crap. You can't throw code on your screen and expect it to work properly. You have to think when you're doing multiplayer. So let's think this out then. When this code runs right here, this is the only code I care about. This is basically creating a reference to our HUD internally in each of our characters. We're going to want this to run no matter what on all characters. Let's start commenting crap. You know what? Run this on all characters created on all clients. So we end up with each one knowing about its own HUD. And apparently I stopped typing at some point. Its own HUD. There we go. This is technically what this code does right here. No, Harry, well, yeah, no, actually, Harry, that's funny. Harry's comment is, here I was smashing my face into the keyboard this whole time, and now you tell me I have to actually think. I've actually thought more trying to learn multiplayer here, networking, in the last 2 days than I have on pretty much any other thing I've done, believe it or not. Because when networking fails to work properly, it fails to work spectacularly. and you can't really figure out what it is because of how abstract the actual issue is. Like in that previous case, where only the one individual version of that one individual character on that one individual screen had the proper thing we wanted. The player controller node. Everyone has a player controller. The get player controller always returns, or sorry, I should rephrase this. Get player controller 0 always refers to the local player. So that's about the only thing I really know with the player controller. You can get the player controller of other ones if you know their proper index. The one thing I was reading is there are events we're not using, because keep in mind I'm just trying to learn the basics of replication here. I'm doing it the hard way, obviously, but why not? Because it's more enjoyable for me. But the game mode has events for when people join and leave the game itself, the server, and you basically keep track manually as people join and leave if you want to keep track of their specific information, like their controller and stuff. That's the basics that I know from reading. I've never implemented anything like that, and I have no clue how it actually works because I've never done it. So I have to figure it out at some point. Right now, I'm just having fun trying to get this to work. Show please where you add players to the array. Vaso, I am not adding any players to an array. Inside of our game state, it automatically keeps track of all the players inside of your networked game in the player array. So we're simply using that to keep track of our players. That's what we are doing here. The game state keeps an array of player arrays, and that keeps this is an array of player states, and you can reference things from the player states. That's all we're doing right now. We're basically implementing half of networking. And we're only really implementing, I should finish that up. We're only really implementing half of networking because we're fake networking right now. We're using the play and editor version, which spawns clients, as you can see here. This is the fake way of doing it. Game state is a global variable of some kind, right? Pretty much, yeah. Game state is one of those classes that's created when the game is ran. It's game state, player controller, HUD, default pawn. It's part of your game mode. It's something that's there when the game is created. Let's see, BJ. My question now is about the system of collectibles. He's going to make an example. The player has 5 hidden items by the scenario he should catch. I need to save that they've already been caught. I managed to make the save how many he has, but I don't know how to destroy the objects he already got. I need to destroy what was already caught as soon as the game loads, destroy the games. I figured out today trying to find a print string reference in the event graph. I stayed like 2 minutes trying to find it, realized I right-click and find references to find everyone. Rodrigo, I'm glad you found that. Yeah, find references is so handy when you're trying to find stuff. Also, in regards to that though, in case, just as a quick tip, the find results tab can take text. So for example, I could do quote print string and no results found. I can uncheck this and tell it to run again, and it'll find print string nodes in every single thing inside my project. Find results is fantastic, and it's this normal Windows command for it, Control F, so Control key and then F as in find, and then I'll bring up your find results as well. So find references or just simply search for it is really handy. In regards to what you're asking, Rodrigo, you can destroy them on the load. I have a example of persistent saving. It's an Unreal concept video. But the simplest way is if you have 5 coins in your level, let's say we have our level and we have 5 objects in our levels. You know, you have your 5 coins. And you already said you're basically keeping track of that somewhere. So you said you managed to save how many he has. Inside of your level startup or whatever keeps track of the stuff in the level. Make it a blueprint, even if you want, basically a save manager or something. I don't know what it is. You can keep track of all of your coins. So basically just create an array that keeps track of all of your coins. And you can like put the items that they've already caught into the array. So collect something, add to the array collected coin, and then give it that information. It'll be the reference to it, the actor reference. So for example, if I've collected 3 coins in my level, then my array will contain references to those 3 coins. If you save that array out to your disk, then it'll be saved out for these are my collected coins type of thing. When you load the level, grab from your save game that array of your collected coins, and then just destroy everything that's in that array. So say destroy this coin, destroy this coin, destroy this coin when the level loads, and it'll get rid of those collected coins. So now the only thing left should be your other 2 coins. Now if you collect another coin, you can just simply add it to your array. So now your array would have 4 coins in it, for example. And then save it back out. And then the next time they load up the game, you can just re-reference it. Now you may want to just hide them instead of destroying. That's your personal choice. But basically, if you save and load an array of your coins, your collectibles, I say coins, but you meant collectibles. If you save references to those actors that are your collectibles, you can load them later when you load the level, and save it out when you quit the level, and they just destroy, hide, or do whatever you want. Harry, yes, game state's tied to the game mode, because I'm wondering if you would do something like multiplayer lobby for an RTS, from which you transition to the actual game, how'd you keep the other player's session? Though I guess you don't really keep any sessions if you do a client-server model. There's a thingy somewhere, I was reading about this, that's more advanced than what I know right now. But you do have the ability to transfer things between sessions. And something like that, a multiplayer lobby, there's no reason why you can't use streaming levels. So your lobby is a streaming level, and then you load up your map in the background while you still have everyone persistent inside of your lobby, and then you have them go right into the game. So that way they never technically leave your game at all, you're never transitioning them anywhere, you're just loading and unloading data from persistent levels. And your lobby is technically just your game itself. It's a blank one. But you do have the ability in the, I'm pretty sure it's in the, something that I can't remember, of course, because I don't do multiplayer yet. I'm still learning it. But it does keep track of the sessions and the clients that are connected, and you can pass that data along. It is in there somewhere. And hello, Odin. Okay, so, what was I doing? I think we broke our HUD. Oh yeah, we never actually put our code in to add party member. That's right. Because we separated it right now, because we want to make sure it's only added. That's right. So, the question here then is, let's see, and that would work. I was thinking of having a different game mode for the menu of the game itself. Yeah, that's one of the problems with having persistent levels. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. UE4 multiplayer session transfer. Here we go. Main menu, lobby, game level, state, blah blah blah. Tokens in the travel URL. Player controller reference. So I knew that one. I'm not worried about that one. Oh, seamless travel. Because like you have menus, lobbies, matches, seamless travel for servers. Yeah, so it looks like seamless travel. It looks like there's an event to do it. Network traveling. Here we go. Seamless and non-seamless travel. So this is probably what you're looking for there, Harry. Yeah, so there is a way to do server travels, and it will transfer over your clients that are connected. That's probably what you're looking to. Persisting, yeah. So you don't want actors, you just want the server, the client information. So it's in there somewhere. It's in this section that I haven't even looked at yet. I'll have to get to at some point. Darkcraft, how long is the stream going to be? I probably have about half an hour or so left. I'm trying to just simply get my multiplayer UMG setup working back into a stable state after we've broken it before I end the stream for today. Mohammed, what if I need to attach the player to socket of another skeletal mesh in the blueprint and take control of that or possess it? It sounds like you would do literally what you want to do there. You have the attached to actor nodes. This allows you to attach one actor to another actor. So you could, for example, attach your player to the seat of a horse if that's what you're aiming for. And then you take control or possess whatever the horse, you just simply use the possess and unpossess nodes. You have the, well, that's technically the events, but you have the possess and unpossess. You pass in your controller and you tell it the new pawn you want to possess. So you do roughly something like that. Tell it to attach yourself to wherever else you want to go. So it basically becomes kind of like a, well, it literally becomes a player on top of the horse, or for my example, and then you possess the horse, and now you're controlling the horse. You have stuff set up to do that, and that's how you should be able to do that. Let's see if, okay, so let's see if we can get this working. So the question here is the code I only want called, okay, I only want these user interface calls to be called on the locally controlled machine. That is a requirement here. I only want the local machine to make adjustments. I don't want this machine to adjust everyone else. I only want them to adjust their own user interface because these are user interface calls. So we're going to make sure we wrap this with a locally controlled and then do this. So now I should be able to do this code and have it function like I want. So this one is make sure we only run this on the local player as this effect is only for his UI. Okay, so if this worked properly, I should be able to get my single player health bar back on each screen. There we go. Because we're no longer adding 3 of them, 1 for each of the local ones, which was my goal. Hello, glitch. Okay, so that one's good, and that means we want update party member window. We're going to want this one to, again, only fire locally. And Harry, by the way, this is what I meant by having to think. You have to actually think before you do anything, or else you end up with, you know, stupid stuff not working. Because you have no idea what you're doing, which I will admit, I, again, have no idea what I'm doing with this stuff. That is what I'm learning. Okay, update party member. So we have a HUD reference when we call this stuff now. Update our party member. Update, and of course we don't have that event created yet, do we? No, I need to call this on the HUD. So, let's see, update party member. So let's go into our HUD. We have our add party member to HUD, so custom event, update party window. These things are horribly named. I've already realized this at this point. But not a problem. This is all for experimentation. This is, everything you're seeing here is literally not an example I will be using. This is just for me to learn how this stuff works. That's all this stuff is. Get a working example, disseminate all the information, figure out the best way to move the information to other people, and go from there. Okay. So now, party member. Okay, so now I think we'll get 3 of them on each. There we go. We'll get the proper information. We don't have it in the proper order, but we now have the proper information. So cool. So cool. We are getting somewhere. Now, our U event. What is the proper way of doing this? Glitch. I'm not trying to make a multiplayer game. I'm trying to learn how networking works in Unreal. So no actual goal except to learn how it works. Harry, the concept of replications and ticking all the replication boxes. What is that about? That is a good question. Something I'm very minimally informed about. But basically, let's go back to this funky little thing here. And we have 3 players. Hey, let's drop this down to 2 so I can make it easier. So we have 2 windows going on here. Client and a server. On my server, I said those backwards, I have my local player here that I'm controlling, and then a copy of the client, or player 1. Let's go with player 1 and player 2. Player 1 controls player 1, and he can see player 2. On player 2's system, he controls himself and he can see the other player. But you have to keep in mind they're basically the opposite. This one knows about himself and everyone else. This one knows about himself and everyone else. But he considers himself local and he considers himself local. And he considers himself someone else and someone else. The replication is how you get the data properly passed back and forth from one to another. So for example, if I'm over here on my character and my character takes damage, this client over here, player 2, has no idea the other guy took damage. He has no idea. Somehow he needs to tell the other guy that he took damage. Generally, the easiest way of doing that is by replicating data that both people know about. So in this case, we have our health. If our health is set to replicate, so right now it's set to rep notify, which is just a different version of replicate, that means that anytime this value changes, that's replicated, everyone else who has access to this guy on my screen right here, this third person character, will know that the health changed. If it's set to no replication, then whenever this value changes, no one else knows about it. So what that allows me to do then is automatically, let's switch these guys back, automatically have player 1 here. If he takes damage, player 2 knows that the damage value in this character has changed automatically. So if my character here was to ever ask this character what his health was, if it's replicated, this client, player 2, will always know what the proper value is when he asks for it. If it's not replicated, that means my server here, he lost 50 life. He's now at 50 for his health. If it's not replicated, when server player 2 asks that guy what his new health is, he's going to say it's 100. Because it was originally set to 100 and it's never changed because this character over here never told this version of himself it's been changed. Replication automates that process. You could do it manually. Hey, I took damage, let's go ahead and let everyone else know I took damage, and then everyone else could update their local versions of that character with their new health value or whatever. Replication just automates that. That's basically what replication is. So when you tick the boxes or you change the options, that's what turns it on and off. Replicates basically says whether or not the actor will replicate, and this has to be turned on in order to have the values change. So pretty much basically what it means is anything that replicates has that information the same to everybody else who knows about it. That's probably the easiest way of understanding it. With it turned off, it doesn't. You don't need to replicate stuff that only I would need to know about. And that's kind of like, for example, our HUD, we wouldn't need to replicate because only we should know about our HUD. Local values, for example, like these base turn rates and lookup rates, these are setup values. There's no reason for anyone else to know about them. There's no reason to let anyone else know about, like, for example, the camera or any settings on the camera because it's local. So basically anything that's local and only matters, you don't care about replication. And yep, and again, all the checkboxes do is allow it to easily transfer back and forth. And then we have our broadcasting, which is what I'm trying to break right now. Making sure everybody knows things when things happen. And that's what we've got broken right here now. That's what we're in the process of. So basically what we're in the process of is I have 2 sets of health bars. I want to be able to remove one of them. So it basically simulates someone leaving and then have both clients update themselves automatically. And we have this broken because of the fact that this information is invalid, which is fine because this refers to something that doesn't exist anymore. We kind of technically stopped using that. And that's what we're working on here. So in theory, I think if I grabbed our HUD, told to update the party, called update, right? Update party window, right? Yeah, there we go. I think this should talk only to the local version of the HUD and work. I have a feeling it's not going to work because of this right now, which is fine. I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about just simply having the error go away. Okay, so good. Only the server ran it. Only the server got rid of it. And we got no error. So that was what I expected. Now I'm going to disconnect this and see what happens. And we'll hit U. And there we go. We managed to remove a player. Let's see if we got no errors. And no errors. See, that was the whole goal of this entire thing. We managed to basically, I hit U. The server says, okay, everybody, we're going to do something because only the server is allowed to call this. And we're going to do this little function here. Event, not function. I hate the naming. Anyways, we're going to do this thing. This thing says, okay, well, when this thing gets called, we're going to multicast it. That means the server's going to run it and everyone else is going to run it. Everybody's going to do whatever's connected. And everybody's basically going to go, okay, well, let's grab our last player in our array and remove it. That was a good suggestion for testing this. Technically, this would be more lines of getting rid of stuff. Yes, and I did delete different players on different game instances. No, that is 100% Cosmic. We don't have a synced up local repository. I actually did that on purpose. The point of this was just to test something right now. Technically, if you were going to remove a player, for example, you'd want to communicate the ID and then remove the proper one. Technically, we wouldn't even do this because we would the player array would automatically. Well, technically, it's broken if we were trying to actually have functionality of a valid player remove and join. You'll also notice at this point, technically the values are the same now. The player array, unfortunately, we can never guarantee being in the same order. Like in this case, it is the same order, which is highly amusing. But for example, our example was basically making sure only the local player executed this properly and updated their local display. That was our goal here. Basically, and so for example, the point of this was if we did this, we fired up 3 instances, and we hit U, they still all replicated the data the same. They still all talked to their local instance, they still all removed one version of it, and they still all updated their local HUD. That was our goal. And if I hit U a bunch of times, it should have crashed. Oh no, it shouldn't crash because we have it looping through an array. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we have a success. It just doesn't do what you'd expect it to do because we're not doing anything, which is cool. The whole point of this was, again, debug. The last thing I want to do is just simply get my display in an order that's more appropriate, so it feels proper. There is a couple different ways of doing this. I don't think any way is correct because everything's preferential. What I mean by that is if we were to play this and you have, as you can see here, one of these says 411, 412, 413. This one says 11, 13, 12, and this one says 12, 11, 13. So they're all in different orders. Different games allow different things. Warcraft, because it's a moddable interface, allows you to customize which player goes where. Other games, for example, will put you on the top and then put the rest of your members below that. So they're all different. I'm going to go with that second version. I'm going to put the local client as the first member in your party, and then I'm going to put the other members underneath that. So our goal here then is to basically change this code here, which updates the party member. And instead of just looping through it, we're going to make sure we put the player first, and then we put everyone else below that. So this code here technically still is good. It needs a check, but we want to add our player first. So this code is still fine. We basically clear our array and make sure it's blank. We're going to grab we determined it was the player state. So that's the player controller. So let's grab our controller and let's get the player state. And this should give us the local player state. So this is our player state right here. So we were adding in our player ID. We were basically doing this. So we're going to, now all of these things should be in functions, but we're going to set it all up in one long friggin' event and then break things down after that. There we go. So let's see. This is this one, like this. There we go. So what this should do is it should add ourselves as the only one. So if we were to run this again, we should see ourselves as the only one. Now we have a problem with that top one. You'll notice sometimes it doesn't show all the party members, and I have not figured that one out yet, and it's really annoying, to be honest. The player state is invalid for that party member even after 2 seconds, and I have not figured out why. Obviously this is one where you might want to loop through it and make sure it's valid before you do anything, but for some reason it's always this middle one. It's always behind the other two. Super annoying. But that's a bug that affects functionality but not really our network learning. But as we can see here, we have each individual own person as the first player in our group. So this functionality just adds the local player. So add local player to our member window as the first entry. And keep in mind, we are doing no form of bookkeeping. All that stuff is stuff I want to add in eventually so we can learn to properly pass data over the network. For now, we're just simply getting stuff working. So, boom. This right here takes care of adding our local player. Now, we could actually just loop through this again. And we know what our local player's ID is. So we're just going to do a really cheesy way of skipping our local player, because we technically don't know where our local player is inside of our array. I should rephrase that. No, we don't. I don't think we know where it is. It's never guaranteed to be the first one, which is really annoying. But this one right here is our player ID. So let's grab our player ID and grab our player ID of a local one. We'll see if they are equal. And if they are equal, we are going to do nothing. And if it's not equal, we are going to create a party member based on that information inside of, oops, like that, there we go. And we're just going to create another party member based on that ID. So in theory, if I did that right, we should get our local player as the first entry for each one, and then everyone else as the next entry. Now, of course, like I mentioned, you can't guarantee the order they're going to be in. Like you can see, it's 1, 2, 0, 2, and 0, 1. So obviously, we can't have the same layout on each one. But the point here was to make sure our local player is always the first one, and then make sure everyone else is after that. Now, we could, of course, reorganize this. You can put it whenever order you want. You can, those are all filtering type rules. Those are things that are useful, but you'll notice that in terms of that, if we go in here, this is all code that's dealing basically with data. None of this really deals with anything that's replicated or network-wise. I mean, technically this data right here it's our player state, but I mean, it's nothing specifically unique to networking. So if we were to go in and add in filtering, sorting, reorganization, it's not going to help us learn networking better. And the point of this is to learn networking. So we're just simply going to leave that like that. This function will have to improve better if we want to add and remove people. But right now it's just basically a stub to put an empty entry in. And then this will comment out and then loop through all of our players in the player array and add anyone else that is not us. There we go. See? And that works. And since we set this up programmatically, technically I could have as many players as I want and run this. Stuff's going to go all over the place. But it should work out programmatically. You can see that we have 5 different windows set up. Every one of them has their own unique ID as the top player. And they all have everyone else after that. Because we did it dynamically, basically. Obviously, we don't have health replication working properly because of the simple fact that I completely disconnected the code. I don't have anything to do right now. Maybe we could quickly fix that. I'm very curious. Since we've got the basics working, we might be able to... No, see, here's the problem. Okay, I don't think we can do it right now. Let's see if I can go over the basics of why not. So, health is replicated. So, technically... let's break this down into 2 players here. Technically, if this character walked over here, his health value right now is less because I've taken damage. And on this person over here, his machine, he knows his health is less. I just don't have the server, the widgets updating properly. So that's not really an issue. We know that the values have changed, and since they're replicated, they're going to be identical. The problem is we need to basically pass that information to the HUD, and then the HUD has to update the appropriate one. Now, we probably use the player ID to do that. Okay, maybe I'm incorrect. Maybe I can do this really quickly. I have the code in party window, right? So let's go with, this is update the party member window. So, let's get rid of add member. Let's do, because it would probably be smarter to call update anytime you, so let's call it refresh. I liked refresh better. Someone had that idea and I like that one better. Because technically you're going to refresh the party member by just updating everything. So I like that idea better. We'll make a custom event and we'll do change party member health. Update party member health. That's what we'll call this. And we will need to do a couple different things in here. So we're going to pass in a player ID. And then we're going to pass in the new value. Like that. And our new value is going to be a float. And our ID is going to be an integer. Now, one issue we're going to have here is, unless we iterate over everything, we're basically stuck with having our interface is a dummy right now. It's simply displaying information. It doesn't actually know about any of the information it's displaying. It doesn't know, for example, which ID relates to which of these that we've created, our widgets. We technically should tie those together somehow. I could really easily do a struct and tie them together. I think I'm going to do something extremely stupid, but I'm curious to see how easily and stupid this will work. I'm going to call this player ID reference. Actually, I'm not going to do player ID reference. I'm going to do player ID array. It's going to be an array of integers. Ooh, I'm in 415. I forgot I could just map stuff together. I forgot I could do that. Integer, and this is going to be a player state, right? Oh no, not a player state. A widget. This is a what? Player party member widget. Can I put those inside of a map? Let's find out. Party member. Seriously? It doesn't type. Oh, it doesn't focus anymore. Party member reference. I think I can do this. All right. Maps are saving the day. That is awesome. Player ID to widget map is what we're going to call this. Haha. This is going to be awesome. Okay, so this one creates it. Okay, so let's I need to figure out the correct spot to put this. We are going to get this. We're going to add a member in here. We're going to add in the value of the player ID and the output of here. This is really ugly right now, but this is just to get something working. So what this should allow me to do is have a map of the ID to the actual widget itself. And then if I do the same thing here, over here, when I create them, so we'll pull these over. I totally forgot we had maps in 4.15. That is awesome. Let me just put this up here, put this in here. So we know that here, let's intersect that. There's our widget and our ID. There we go. So now we have a map of widgets to IDs, or IDs to widgets technically. So now if we do our update player health, we can grab this. We can get, that's not get, which one is it? I hate, find, here we go. So we're going to find, whoops, this ID, and it's going to give us back our widget. And then inside of our widget, we're going to get the health bar. And we're going to set the % on the health bar to here, like that. That should work now that we have maps. Okay, so now we need to be able to call update party member health appropriately whenever we need to. So inside of our character, we have the on rep health. Basically what this does is whenever the health changes, something happens. So in this one, we've been using the player state. See, so this is kind of like where one of those questions comes in. I've been using the player state. Let's see if we can do this without the player state, because I was using the player state to temporarily hold health values. But if I don't need it, I think I can get away with not needing it. Hold on a second. HUD. No, see, I'm still going to have to do it. This health value is going to change. It needs to tell... No. Okay. I think I'm good. I think switching over to our HUD system allows me to do this. Okay, so let's grab our HUD system. Let's find where our HUD went to. And let's see, we had add party member, update party. We don't need to add anymore, but we have a new custom event. And this one's going to be update player health. Same thing as before. We're going to pass through the two values. So this will be our player ID, and this will be our new value. And we'll call this one a float and a integer. And this one's simply going to grab our party window. So this is our local version, and it's going to update the party member health. And all we're doing is basically passing the information from our player into the local HUD, and then from the local HUD into our local widget. Okay, so we'll go back to here, third person character, update player health. We are going to pass in our new, okay, so this is where the math comes in. So this one's always fun because of the progress bar is a 0 to 1 ratio. So we grab 100 divided by 80. No, okay. So it's going to be the current divided by the max. And yes, I had to use a calculator for that because my brain never makes that guess correctly. We're going to need to convert these to floats though first, because we need to make sure we can have a remainder. There we go. And then we'll divide float by float like that. This will give us back a percentage we pass into there. This one is, let's see, get player controller. So let's get our player controller. Let's get our player state. And then let's get our ID. And let's pass in the player ID like that. So, besides something I broke apparently, add party member to HUD. Oh, well, we technically didn't do anything with that. So let's see what happens here, shall we? There we go. Now, obviously, we have a problem. I broke something. We do have our HUD working properly like it's supposed to. So at least that's functioning properly. But it's definitely referencing the wrong widget. Yep. So let's see if we can figure out what I did wrong. Because in theory, I thought this worked fine. Obviously not. So it's got to have something to do with our player ID. And this is where the networking stuff comes in and where my brain just goes, I have no clue what you're doing. You're an idiot. Oh, okay. So here's... No, that's fine. No, that's not it. I thought maybe it was because we were accidentally adding in the wrong player ID. But no, we should be adding in the right player ID when this is running. Yeah, so that should be fine. Okay, so let's check out our arrays on each of our elements. Let's find our friggin' window. Here we go. Where's our health one? Right here, set %. Debug. Let's check this out. So we do know that they have different IDs. So in theory, the top bars on each should be different. And each widget should be different. We'll go under here. Here's our player ID map. Our first one is party member 614 and party member 615 with a value of 432 and a value of 433. So 432 is our current value on the top in this panel. If we resume and it runs again, panel 433 is the one that's on top. And we're supposed to be finding 433, which returns 616. 433, which returns 616. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I see where the problem came in here. Yeah, okay. So, what am I doing here? Stop it. I have too many things open. Third person character. So our issue is going to be on our this one right here. No, this shouldn't be our issue. Okay. Let's see. Play. Wait for health to show up. Click on here. I'm passing in player ID. What do you mean it's not in scope? I'm seriously in here. Oh, because that's in the stupid player thing. Okay. So I'm grabbing my controller. I'm talking to my HUD. I'm going to grab in 90%. I need to figure out. Hold on a second. Yay for print screen debugging. Best way to fix things. Okay. Oh, I hit F9. I have too many debugs. Here we go. Try it again. Okay. So we're definitely, so client 1 is passing, server is passing in 438, like it should be, but client 1 is passing in 439, even though it should be 438. So this is definitely one of those issues where we have network replication stuff being called where we shouldn't be. Well, not. I should rephrase that. It's not a case of network replication where we should be. It's one piece of information should be passed to everybody, and it's not. That's my problem here. I have a feeling that this is. Let's see. Let's work this out backwards and see if we can figure this out. when damage is taken, so the health value on this is changed, a rep notify event is called. So that basically means everybody else notified that this health is changed. Yeah, see, I would assume this would be right. This is one of those cases of where my networking is breaking my brain. Because what this is doing is on the server, this gets called. Okay, nope, see, that's where the issue comes. Okay, so this is always getting the local one. Okay, yep, okay. So that's where our issue is right there, which makes sense. Basically, this event is getting called correctly one time per machine, correctly on the appropriate character. The problem is the value that I'm passing in is the local player's information, not the actual information like what is this. So what I'm thinking is we do something smart. We'll call this the local player ID. We'll call this an integer. On our creation, again, no clue if this is the right way we're supposed to do this, but making stuff work is what we care about. We're going to only want to do this on the local machine. So we're going to do this here, pull this over here. My phone is being harassed, so give me a second. Okay. So we're going to want the locally controlled node again here. Make sure only the local one updates this value. And we're simply going to set the local player ID to that local value. So update health, not update health, where's it at? We don't need this one anymore. Let me get rid of that one. This value, player controller, player state, player ID. Grab this, go back into our event graph, plop this into here. So what this should do is assign the local player ID, which is a variable local to this character when it's created. It should assign itself only on creation. Once, only if it's a locally controlled one. So only the local one should know its local ID. So that way when we call our rep notify, we just pass in our local ID. I have a feeling this isn't going to do what I want though, damn it. Because technically this is going to pass in a null value, I have a feeling. Oh well, let's see what happens. I'm trying to get my brain around networking. Seriously, yeah, see, it's going to pass around... Oh, crap. It's going to pass around that information because the damn... Wait, where'd it go? This isn't initialized, of course, because of that stupid time frame we have to wait. Yeah. Oops, not simulate play. Okay. Now I should have a valid... No, I don't have a valid value. Why not? Why don't I have a valid value here? Because update party member window... Wait a minute, hold on a second. Now I'm definitely confused on this one. Oh, I have a feeling it's very close to me having to stop for the day because the confusion's starting to set in. Which it should not be, but I have a feeling there's just something not working right here. I'm gonna try to see if I can figure this one out. This gets the local player controller, sets a player ID, grabs a player ID and sets the local player. Oh, this is probably, that might, whoops, that might be an issue here because the value is not replicated for the player ID, which means when I ask for it on the other machines, no, so that wasn't it. So why is that not? Okay, well, let's put a breakpoint in and hit the play button. Of course, it's not in scope because it sucks. Why would the player state not have a player ID? Yeah, I watched the networking basics video, which is fine, but it doesn't deal with player states, game states. It literally deals with the extreme basics, how to pass, have data replicated automatically, which is fine for local stuff like a health bar above a player or a name. But when you're talking about things where you have widgets, which are locally controlled rather than in the scene, then you end up with stuff. Let's go back to what I had and see if we can make this work properly. Because we know this is okay. So this is me going back to, here we go. So this is what I had before I went in and changed anything. Here's our rep health. We need to pass in a proper one. You get the player. So this is what we need to figure out. Okay, so let's see if we can break this down into a thought process here. When we're playing our game right here, we have stuff. This guy here is ID 452. And this guy here is ID 452. So not a problem. Those are correct. And this is ID 453. And this is ID 453. So local and remote, local and remote. So we're good on that one. When my ID 452 walks into the damage, it needs to say, okay, I'm ID 452, and I need to tell everybody that I took damage. So I have a feeling that's going to be that's probably what I need to do, a multicast event like I did with the debugging. I want to bet that's what it is when we rep the health current. Let's try that. Let's try custom event. Let's see what happens if we do something like this. So let's get rid of that. Let's grab this information. This is the stuff I want. Let's go into our event graph. Let's put it back into here like this. And let's just move this up. Okay. And let's call this update health on HUD. This is a multicast event, so that means everybody's going to run it. Everybody should run this. And the key here is we need to call the correct player ID. So let's see, player ID. Let's see. So when the initial event is called, we need the correct player ID passed, which means we could probably do update health on HUD, replicated event, and then we should be able to get player ID. Now see, the local player ID is something I created. So let's see, get player controller. And get player state, and then get player ID, like that. So and then this should only execute on, see, the problem is we execute, see, crap. This value is always going to be local. So on rep health current, no, because this event should only be called on the client that has health changed, right? Okay, we're definitely getting somewhere. I also don't know why my screen just turned sideways, because we can see the bottom numbers changing. Okay, cool. So we're definitely getting somewhere. Where it looks like we're passing along the proper information at some point. what we're calling the event too many times, which is good. We're definitely getting somewhere. So the problem is so this gets called. So okay, maybe I need to. You know what? I need to debug this. I have an assumption that I should probably make sure it's valid. I'm assuming this event is only called once. Whenever whoever it applies to takes the damage. And it's not good to assume things. Yeah, see, it's being called twice. It's being called on both the client and the server. And in this case, it's being called on the client and the server. And we only want it called on the client in that case. So we only want this. So, okay, so where'd it go? Seriously? There we go. So then we should be able to is locally controlled. There we go. I remember, if anyone was here for the beginning of this, I stated I'm pretty sure everything I'm doing is wrong, but it works. I think we've gotten to the point where we fixed everything originally, and that stuff's right, but now everything I'm doing now is wrong. And hello, Hendrik. Okay, so let's see how many times. There we go. So that's only called once. There we go. Look. That was the effect we were trying to accomplish right there. So the appropriate person is losing life now. We obviously have an issue where that's not being replicated to the other one for some reason. Let's clear this out and see what happens. Okay, so no errors, no errors. So no errors on the bottom of the screen. Okay. So our client is not properly... Our client's calling it, but it's not... Oh, is it because... Wait, no, we're on... Okay. Locally controlled. Correct. Called. Correct. Replicate to all. Oh, if server. Ew. Huh. I'll be a monkey's butthead. So multicast replicates this event from the server to everyone else. Server executes this event locally, which is what we want. Only call this from the server. Awesome. Which is fine. Which is fine. When life is... Yeah, no, see, it's not fine. I think this is because we're doing something the way we're not supposed to. The server should have the updated value of everybody. And then, which it does. And then the rep notify comes into here. And its value changes. And then this should only be called once, but it needs the proper value. So how do we get the proper value of the... Huh. Let's see. I have the same feeling. There must be a way to just run everything once for every client and not worry about other clients on it. Yeah, see, damn, this is why networking causes people so many issues. I completely understand it. Here's basically what's going on. We have our little dude here, and our little dude walks over here. He triggers my event. Because he's locally controlled, my problem I'm running into is this. Where'd my event? I keep losing my event. I need the proper player ID. Right now, every client is aware of every other client having a HUD, etc. Well, possibly you just can't access other people's HUDs. Damn it. Let's see. Okay, we can do this. When this, yeah, see, and it makes sense as being called twice. How do I get the ID? How do I get the ID of this character? If we get this information, which comes from a controller, so how do I get the controller of how do I get the local controller? You can't. Like, what is the friggin' controller? Because technically there's no controller. Oh, crap. But I have to know the player state. And I have to know the player state because, see, for example, if I get the game state and I get the player array, this gives me an array of all the players. No problem. Then I can get, for example, one of these, and this will give me back the player state. I can get the player ID. Not a problem. How do I figure out which exact player I am dealing with inside of here? That is my issue. Let's see. Get player state. Player state. Multiplayer. Let's see if anyone Googles this. Targeting a specific player in multiplayer. Let's see what people's suggestions are. I hate looking for answers, but at this point, yeah, what if you create an array with each instance? Don't know the best method. Event post player login. Then you can do a for each loop, get the player state and the player ID. Create instance. For each loop with break, get player state. Right now I have this. Player logs in, store the username in the game instance. Player gets teleported. Keep track of stuff. Player state. Player ID from the player state is not permanent. Yep, don't really care about that. Store the username. Join world. Cast to the controller. Set the character's name. Get the game instance. Join world. Cast to my player. Set the character's name. Cast to player controller. Let's see. On clicked. Player controller, game instance, execute commands. Okay. Basically, it looks like, yeah. From what I'm reading, it looks like pretty much most of these people keep track of these things on startup. But I have a feeling we don't need to do that. I have a feeling we're just literally doing something extremely stupid in terms of our rep notify. So where is our... Okay. So let's see if we can think about this in visual terms. We have this character on the screen on the left. This exact same character exists right here. So this character and this character are the same. When I walk into this, my rep notify fires off on here and on here. So this client, this character, this client, this character, which is fine. Now I want to grab the ID that is associated with this. And the problem is the IDs don't reference characters. Okay, so that's where my issue is coming from. Even though technically this is a character, the actual item itself needs to be referenced somehow. Yeah. Okay, so this does come back to that. To execute something on some exact client, you need to call an RPC event from server to owning client on player controller. Yeah, well, see, that would be... where's it at? Okay, I keep losing stuff because I have too many things open. That would be this one right here, and run it on the owning client. Which would be fine. Which isn't really an issue. Multicast works as well for this one. My problem is it's the player ID. I need to somehow store the player ID. Yeah, okay. So that's where the issue comes from. I'm short-circuiting a lot of stuff here by me... Oh, well, son of a bitch. I wonder if you stumbled on something that would work. Let's see. If we do this as a multicast, and we do authority, we only run this on the server, and then we basically get player controller ID, not player controller ID. Seriously, what the hell is player control? What is player controller ID? I don't know what that is. Get player controller, grab our local player controller, grab our player state, and grab our player ID, and stuff that into our local value, which we were trying to do here. So promote this to a variable. This is the local player ID. Replicate this so every single version of this knows what our local player ID. In theory, I believe if we called this, it'll only run on the server. So that runs all characters. So if we did player ID, this should only run on the server because it's a multicast event. The multicast says basically if the server runs it, it executes it locally, which we want, and it executes it on everyone else. Everyone else should basically simply grab their local player controller and store it. Now, see, damn it. That means the local version is... Yeah, see, the problem is the local version is still going to have an issue. Unless... Damn it, how do we... Oh, okay, no, if we... Okay, hold on a second. I'm trying to move the stuff down. Hold on. If we only execute this on the server and multicast it, and then only the locally controlled ones execute this, it should only update the local version with the player ID, and then it should replicate that to all other versions of itself. So, if we type the T key, let's see, where's the T key? We do print string, local player ID. Let's see what happens here, shall we? Oops, I need to, okay, I did call update. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Okay. Okay. So only the server is calling 468. Client 1 is still calling 0. Son of a bitch. If we set what to replicate, the function or the okay, this one, duh, is the wrong spot. Yeah, that was not gonna work. Okay. Okay, so server is 470, client is 471. Okay. So cool. We have a valid local index, I think now. So if we were to do this, I think we might be okay. Let's see. Okay, so those ones are updating. Whoops, I gotta go in and out apparently. Okay, so those ones are repping properly. And okay, so we definitely broke something again. we managed to get our server updating properly. So you can see the server updating properly. But our client is still updating the wrong thing. Ugh. Oh, networking, you are so much fun. See, I assumed. Oh, okay. Let's T. Let's custom event broadcast IDs. Here, let me check something here and make this a multicast. Curious about something. Yeah, see, client and server. Yeah, see, client and server are showing this as 474, which is fine. And that's, yeah, this isn't running on the server because I won't let it. 475, yeah, okay. Okay. So let's see, I'm going to wrap this up shortly, but let's see if we can wrap our heads around this, see if maybe we're doing something stupid. The thought here is we run a switch as authority. This should only ever run on the server. Oh, okay, I already see what the problem is here. Son of a bitch. I keep... Oh my god, my brain is just not working on this one. Okay. I keep thinking whenever this runs, this switch has authority, it's only going to run on the player I'm controlling. This is not true. This character, this third-person character, will be spawned twice. The server will spawn this one twice. Both times it spawns it, it calls update player ID. The one I'm controlling is going to be set to this value, and the one I'm not controlling is going to be set to this value as well. Now, is locally controlled should prevent the second part. So this, yeah. So this one, okay, hold on a second. So we actually want this to be run locally. Update player ID. This should run itself locally. When it runs itself locally, it should check and see if it's locally controlled. So this is only the one that I'm controlling. And it's going to set the one I'm controlling to whatever its player ID is. Server should set itself and then replicate the value, which is what we have replicated here. So everyone should replicate themselves. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Yeah, because that's fine. The issue is getting this one too. So our issue here is our client is got the wrong values. There we go. So local play. So why don't we just print out our local player ID? And then okay, play. Switch over to here. 470. Yeah, see, sir. Okay, that's why. So it's talking to the wrong thing. This one is correct. It is supposed to be 479, but it has no value for the server. And then if we run, which is probably that stupid bug I keep running into. So this one should say 481 and 481, which it doesn't. Okay. This one should say 482 and 482, which it does. So see, so the server does it fine. 482 and 482. Aha, and the reason why this one is showing the wrong information is because it's changing 0. So it's probably defaulting to a bad value. So okay, so it's an appearance issue, and it's the fact that the server is not showing a value for that one. So why is that not replicating on the server then? Where's my stupid... This is what I mean by that. This dude I'm controlling here and here both internally should have values of 484. And you can see that the client agrees and the server agrees. But this dude here should have value 485, which the client agrees and the server does not. The server says it never set the value for that one. Okay. Okay, so we are definitely getting somewhere. That makes a lot of sense now. Which means it's probably... let's see. Let's see. Is that value simply not being what if we do something extremely stupid here? Just to eliminate any possibility of issues with the player array. We'll wait 10 seconds, make sure all of our arrays are set up and our player state and our game state. We'll go over here. Okay, it's got nothing to do with time then, is what it is. Yeah, it's going to have nothing to do with time. So we'll set that back to 2. So for some reason on our client, so when our client executes, okay, I can, I should be able to do this. Oh, it's not going to work because I'm in here, but in theory we have this one and this one, which you can see there are 2 IDs. You can see 489 and 488. Unfortunately, I can't see that with the other one. Okay, so what's the easiest way of doing this? T-key again. Yeah, T-key. Where'd my stupid T-key go? This is going to do a for each loop. We're going to loop through, not for each. Get all actors. We're going to get all of our actors that are part of our class. So this is our third person character. Grab all of them, loop through all of them, and then print out their local value. So this is the get local player ID, and we'll simply print that out. Print string local player ID. And we probably want to append, and we're going to go add pin. Yay for fun debugging. I hate getting stuck. This is the problem why we're still streaming. I'm glad, yeah, it's funny, people are showing up now near the end of the stream, but I hate getting stuck, which is why I don't want to do this. So name, okay. Okay, see, so there's our issue there. Our server, oh, I don't want the name. I want the object name, I think is what it is. So that way I can make sure it's the correct version of this. There we go. No, that's still C. Seriously. Oh, that's the weirdest thing in the world. Yeah, so our client properly knows the values. That is literally the exact opposite of what I was expecting. The server is not storing its values properly. Why is the server not storing the values properly? The server has a player controller, right? It has to have a player controller. Obviously, it's inside of our player ID. Where'd it go? Third person, event graph, update player ID, locally controlled. Yeah. Okay, let's disconnect the locally controlled. Let's see what happens if we just store the values. I think it's going to overwrite themselves. Yeah, that's what I was worried about. Basically, the controller got overwritten. Oh. No. Hold on. I'm not crazy that this doesn't seem like it's a really stupid problem, right? Let's eliminate potential problems and restart it just to make sure. Let's also see if there's an issue. Listen, server, player ID. UE4. Huh. Well, this guy can't get his player ID. Let's see, player ID. What if this is a bug? Different player states. Yep, not a problem. We knew that one. Different player order, something RPC. Yeah. No, sorry, the screen didn't freeze. I'm on the other side trying to read something. I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'm literally going to... Yeah, no, sorry, Kazume. That was me just... I was on the other screen, so since I was out, it reduced it. So, yeah, so just... I think I might have to leave it here. I hate to leave it like this, but... Unless anyone can see what I'm doing wrong here, I have this character. This is... Begin play. Network, HUD reference, delay, update party window, update player ID. So none of these things are specifically run on any machine. These should all be run on client and server. Nothing should be client or server specific. The ID is replicated, so that's not an issue. Like, for example, I have a feeling if I did 66, I'm going to end up with 66 as my value. Yeah, 66. So this value is not being changed is the problem. So when update player ID is run, it does this. It checks to see if it's locally controlled, whatever pawn this is on. If it is, it grabs the controller, grabs the state, grabs the ID, and sets it. Print string. Set. Let's make sure it's being called all the time properly. Set ID, set ID. Yeah, set ID. So we saw set ID being called twice, right? Okay, well, super duper debug powers activate. This should be on our server right now. Yeah, our local player ID is not, there's no value inside of here. Persistent level player controller 0. Oh, okay, we'll resume. It'll pause again. And there's our local value ID. Yeah, player controller 1. Player controller 0 has no player state. Let's find out. That was not what I meant to do. I don't need to debug that one anymore. Okay. What in the hell? Okay, so... What the hell? Server is 272, client is 273. Oh boy. Oh, crap. Obviously, my brain is completely functional, right? Not right now. Because when this is running on the server... Oops, I keep activating it too soon. It's kind of my mistake. When this runs on the server, it prints out 278. And when it runs on the client, it prints out 279. So our values are correct. Is the set just not working? No, that can't be true. Because then when I hit T, it's showing as 0. But when I print it out here, it's showing as 280 and 281. Oh. It seems almost like it's reading it and losing it, which makes no sense. Doesn't it? And it should only ever... Where's the character? These events should only ever be executed once when it's locally controlled, so we shouldn't have to worry about it being overwritten. Okay, I'm going to do another sanity check here. And, there we go. If local player ID is not equal to 0. Oops, I meant to say equal to 0. Actually, let's put it -1. Just so we know it's not being like set to 0 for some reason. So if it's equal to -1, then we're going to go ahead and store that value. So now we know it's going to store it properly. And there's the server and the client. Yeah. But when I print, it's showing -1. You see that? I'm not crazy, right? I'm telling it to print out the local value and it's printing out -1. But when I go over here to the client and tell it to print out, it prints it out perfectly fine. Okay, I need to, I need to do something to, better differentiate this stuff. Where's my name printout? I'm just trying something right here to get a little better differentiation on my debug. Is this... Why is it still showing... Okay, hold on a second here. Oh, okay. So... Huh. No, I have a feeling I'm not storing something properly, because when I run my debug, you'll notice both of them are referenced as C0, which is this one, when it should be referencing C1 as well. See, I should be having C0 and C1. But you'll notice on the server, it has both of the values in here. So the server is keeping both of the values properly. It does have them. You know, so the values are being set properly. Something is not right somewhere else. Okay, let me get rid of all of my debug stuff and let me think this one over. I have a feeling I'm going to have to stop here, unfortunately. I was hoping to use the existing system because it makes no sense that we can't use the existing system. But for whatever reason, you know, we have our setup here and data's replicating fine from the server. You can see the client says it's supposed to change 290 and the server says it's supposed to change 290. So we're good there. But on the client, it's saying it's supposed to change 291, which it's supposed to, and it's supposed to change the server value. Well, the server is saying -1 is supposed to be changed. So it's basically saying that the value of that character over there is, hold on a second. Which one's this one? Character 1 is the one I'm controlling. Character 0 is the one I'm not controlling. On this instance. You can see based on the eyes down there. Yeah. So like if I reset that one, oh, which yeah, it's gonna be a pain in the butt. This is always fun. So yep, I'm getting the wrong something or other. And I don't want to leave anyone. Okay, so anyways, I've been streaming for longer than I should have been. I'm sorry this last bit wasn't as exciting as it should have been. I did go into this knowing that multiplayer was going to be a pain. I know there's something small. I know my code in here is valid for the UMG, for updating. I have a feeling that the values... the values don't seem... Oh, maybe it's in... It shouldn't be in here, right? You know, I never thought about this. No, these values have to be correct. These values have to be correct because our widgets are showing the correct information. 294, 295, 295, 294. So our widgets have the correct information, which means that the value stored inside of here is going to be correct. The problem is we're passing in an invalid one. So like, for example, oops. Print screen. I hate the fact I keep saying I'm gonna wrap it up, but I keep trying to find out ideas. So like in this one, you can see, oh, okay, look at that. Okay. This is being called multiple times. Server calls it once, client calls it twice. Server calls it once, client calls it twice. So my client, okay, yeah, so it's definitely not possible. Is it possible that from one side the get all actors of class doesn't work? Darkcraft, you're gonna make a devlog. No, I do not make devlogs. I really don't like writing, and I'm not gonna write, and I don't like writing, and I'm not gonna write. But I do put the videos up. I'd love to be able to do it. I just really don't like writing. Yeah, the function should work regardless of where I am, whether I'm on the server or the client. I agree completely. All of these things should be run properly. I have a feeling that this is a simple example of disconnect between my brain and how Unreal Engine works. And that's why I'm doing this stuff, so I can try to figure out all these smaller problems and then figure out the easiest way to break that information down and give it to people and let them know these are common issues I'll run into. So I take all the pain in doing this and hopefully give it out in an easier fashion. When the server makes a call, is it replicated while the call on the client is not? Nothing's replicated in terms of the calls. None of my calls are replicated. Well, I should rephrase that. Updating health. Yeah, technically the update health one is replicated right here. The server, I keep losing stuff. The server calls that whenever the health is replicated. But why? But regardless of the issue I'm having with all of this stuff, my player IDs don't seem to be playing nicely, which I don't understand. But they should be printed out properly. I ran the test. You know, I really need to stop deleting that stupid thing. But running through my test, I keep having issues. Darkcraft, a video log every week showing a video of what you've done. I pretty much, everything I do is on video. It's either the regular, the regular videos, which are 4 times a week, or the streams, which are 3 times a week. Everything's technically on video. So you're saying that this should only be called on the multicast things on the server. Yeah, that is correct. I should only call multicast things on the server. And I agree on that one. Which I think, I mean, oh, crap. Oh, you know what? Is there an easy way to, no, you know what? The player IDs are in there, and they're good. Oh, I just thought of something. Yeah, player ID. I've got that right here. Let's just do this whenever the health is replicated. Let's check something out here. Okay. So 300 is the person that is the health is being replicated to, and this is proper. This is being done properly, because what's happening here is this character walks into here. Oh god, I hate how these things default so low. This is technically working exactly how I want it. Let's get rid of that stuff, wait for it to go away. Okay, I walk into here. This, oh, I need to start up in a stupid new window. Okay, here we go. Let's try it again. When I walk into my damage thing, this character right here, his ID is 304. This character over here off to the side, his ID is 304. So when I walk into here, the server says his ID is 304, and the client is saying the guy whose health just got replicated, his ID is 304. So, I mean, it seems like it's fine to me, unless I'm confused here. That part seems like it's fine. Unless I'm confused, that seems like it's fine. And then this should not be about to, okay, no, this is only, hold on a second. Okay, hold on a second. See, I'm still getting that -1. Tell me that makes no sense at all. Let's disconnect this. We'll go and run this. The server has valid data. The server says I'm 308 and the client says you're 308. On the client, this character should be 309. And the client says I'm 309, but the server says he's -1. Well, see, none of these things are set to multicast. Right now, actually, with the stuff we're doing, we're not doing any of that funky stuff, honestly. Here, what if I don't? Here, let's try doing something here. Yeah, see how we're getting client -1? That's what we'd expect right there. That is technically what we would expect. And if we go over to here, we should get 310 and server -1. Yeah, those are the numbers we expect because things are not being replicated. That's actually what we'd expect properly. Because what's happening here is, because I'm not replicating, that value for the ID inside of here, well, technically inside of here, over here on the server, for that character, see how he's moving? He never got that value. The client never said, hey, set his value to something. That's why he's at -1. And that's what we'd expect, because that value is not being replicated. Our local player ID. when I set it to replicated, it should now automatically update any of the clients with the proper value. It should do it automatically. So we run this, we wait. Now when I walk through this, I should see 312 on both sides. Yeah. But this one is showing -1. It's almost as if it's not being replicated from the server to the client. Honestly, that's literally what it looks like. So why don't we just do this to a rep notify and print string, and we'll do I was replicated. Too many things printing out right now, but I don't care. Okay, so that was replicated 3 times, it looks like. Let's make this a red color, make it easier. Okay. Okay. Our client is calling replication twice. Do we see that? Our server replicates and prints out its number, and then the client replicates twice, but doesn't print out its number the first time. And then if we go over to here, yeah, we still have -1. So what did it say over here? Yeah, okay. Isn't only the server allowed to replicate stuff to clients? Kazume might be right. Damn, that is an intelligent question there. Have we spent this much time? Because of my basic non-understanding? In your case, your game state is not owned by the client. You can do the client player state, send a request to the server player state, and then forward that to the game state. Oh, son of a gun. You might be right. I love this. I love how it eventually all comes down to something stupid. Let's see. Replicating means you send a variable from the server to the client. To replicate from client to server, you need to RPC, which in Unreal is made by run by server event. Client asks to move the marble, server moves the marble. Nope, you are friggin'... The client casts it to the server, and the server multicasts it to the client. Replicate, then multicast. So the client has to tell the server to update that value on all of the characters. So then... okay, where is my third person character? And here we go. So set with notify. So this would be something like, here, let's find a, so update player ID. Do I seriously already have a function called update player ID? Okay, custom event, update player ID on server. Haha! Okay, so on this one, you replicate this event from the net-only client to the server. Okay, so the client would call this event, and then the server would take and set this value. So how would we do that then? So I've got the, okay, so I think we've gone past the first part. Screw giving up right now. I think we're near the end here. It took us like an hour to understand how much I don't know about this. No, and that's good, Kian. You're helping a lot on this one. If you could help me through the rest of this, it would definitely probably help out a bunch. Whoops, I think I hit mute, or the next song. I don't know, I hit a button. So here's the question. I want each individual character to store their ID. I want them to store their ID values and have that value replicated across to everybody. So I've got the value replicated right now. So I can either set it as replicate or rep notify. It doesn't really matter. I'll fix it as needed. So when the client has its ID changed. So I set it right here. I need to tell the server that that ID has been changed and make sure that that ID is proper on this character. How do you do that, if that makes sense? Or would I basically do like what it seems like, which is yeah, oh my god, I friggin', let's see, update player. I think the brain might slowly be understanding this. Let's see, new player ID, and then we set the local player ID. Assuming this is authority. So this is only the server calling this, right? If it's something like that, maybe. And then this one right here, update player ID. In theory, we would grab the local player ID from here. This is why the brain is not functioning on terms of this one. But I think maybe that might be the issue I'm coming across right here. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Hey, it crashed! Alright! I managed to get it to crash. Infinite loop detected. Oh, probably because... Oh my god, I know why. Okay, so I know why this is happening. That's funny. Okay, let's back out of here. Let's move this over. Let's set it like this. Like this. We can disconnect this. We can hook this up. We don't want this to be a rep notify because basically it keeps calling itself over and over when we tell it to update. So let's see what happens now. Okay. Okay, so obviously I've completely corn-fuzzled something. Or did I disconnect my code? Nope, 328. So that number's passing along properly. And 320. Okay, look at that. Son of a gun. I think that did it. I broke my health value change because we never hooked this back up. But I think that was the key there. And I will admit right now, if this works and that was the key, my brain literally just stopped functioning in terms of how stuff works in networking. I'm not joking either. Okay, that one's good. Look at that. Son of a bitch. Look at that. We got it working. Ah, look at that. 331 is appropriately losing life on both screens at the same time. This is 330 and it's appropriate. Let's get rid of that stupid debug message so we can actually see this. Oops, wait for it to sync up. No, I got you, Kian. Yeah, I'm gonna look at that in a second. Look at that. 332 is losing its life appropriately. 333. Oh my god. Okay. It took much longer than I'd hoped. I don't... My brain is slowly understanding what we did. I'm going to say right now that not multiplayer, networking is the most horrific thing in the world. And I understand now why people pay money to have other people to do this. But on the good news front, we were able to successfully actually finish the project despite me running an hour over what I planned. And I think I understood, thanks to Kian, which I'm going to say Kian because that's the only way I can say it, Kian and Kazame, both of them finally getting the information through my head in regards to what I think we needed. It just finally clicked. But for anyone else, you might be super confused. And this is the super confusing part for me. We are setting our player ID right here And then we're calling a function to set the player ID again. Not only that, we are passing in the player ID that we just set as the valid ID to then reset the player ID. And yes, that is literally as confusing as it sounds, but it makes complete sense in terms of multiplayer, which is really horrible to say. But the good thing is I think I understand now. It's that whole concept of the fact that in this instance right here, we have 4 different things we have to keep track of. And each thing keeps track of each version of itself separately. That's the biggest thing we have to keep in mind here. But the nice thing is, if we set this up properly, we should be able to spawn in 3 players again and have them add automatically, and our 3rd player should update in the appropriate spot. See how that works? So despite the fact that we created this thing really weird and everyone was like, why are you doing this? And that's so weird. We did it so we could do stuff like this. By making it programmatically, it actually works properly. Okay, so Kian, I will be more than happy to check out your Discord picture, and thank you personally as well once the stream is over. I appreciate everyone from hanging out. Anyone who checked in the last bit, it looks like Unreal Engine hosted me at the end. I appreciate you for hanging out. I don't really know if you learned anything because it took us a while to finally get into that, but I'm trying to speed up my acceleration of learning multiplayer before next month because multiplayer seems like it's a lot more fun. And that's what we were doing today. If you want to rewatch the stream, it'll show up on Beam and Twitch shortly. It'll show up on YouTube in a couple hours. Not really much to show off today in terms of code because, again, this is just a learning, and I'm learning with everybody else at the same time. But we were able to make this nifty little UMG widget where things are created programmatically. They're unique to the HUD on the player. Our health bars are actually synced up properly whenever damage is taken, as you can see here. And it's a start of learning networking and replication, and as we learned it here, the proper use of server or remote procedure calls. That's literally what took like an hour and a half to finally remember. Well, it took about an hour and 20 minutes to remember that you can't replicate from the client to the server. And then took another 10 minutes to realize that we need to actually have the server do our replication for us when we tell it to do something. So that's it. That's going to wrap up our stream for today. I appreciate everyone hanging out. Again, feel free to contact me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Beam. My email address is inside my YouTube account in the About section. We have our wonderful, blunderful blueprint list here, which you can find in the About section. Feel free to add a comment if you want to request something in here that I can help you with. If not, just ask during a stream. The next stream will be Friday, roughly 10 o'clock, 3 hours before now. Normally we only do 2, but today was a fun day. And other than that, again, I'll say it for the 3rd time or 4th time or however many times it's been. I appreciate everyone hanging out. I really appreciate everyone chatting and throwing in assistance, helping out other people with questions, as well as helping me out when I got completely lost. Gonna end the stream with roughly 30 seconds of just music so it doesn't look like it disappeared. Everyone else have a good rest of your day.